We got some folks calling in from Santa Barbara, from the Monterey Bay Aquarium, all the way in Oregon. Amazing. And just so folks know, we are going to be recording this, and we're actually streaming right now live on Facebook, which is pretty exciting. So we can reach an even broader audience. So that is really cool. And as folks are arriving, I just want to say welcome, welcome. You can put your name and where you're zooming in from in the chat, and what organization and location, so we can see who is in the Zoom room. Woohoo! Lots of folks from San Diego. Pretty awesome. All right, so let's get started with just what we have to cover in the first few minutes. My name's Laura Dehan. I'm the State Director with Environment California, and I am so excited to welcome everyone to Ocean Day 2022 for California. And on behalf of the entire Ocean Day Planning Coordination Committee and all of the ocean advocates in California, this is an amazing day for us to just take a minute and celebrate our fantastic, wondrous ocean that we have an opportunity to live so close to here in our beautiful coastal state. And not only celebrate the ocean, but also advocate for the ocean. Over the course of the day, we have over 75 meetings scheduled with the highest levels of government here in our great state of California, where we're going to be presenting some of the biggest threats to the ocean and reasons to act to protect the ocean, as well as opportunities that we have right now to protect our ocean. And so it's going to be a really action-packed day. In addition to the all of the lobby meetings that we're going to be doing, we have a really packed program for the day and some incredible speakers and panels that are going to be taking place. So I wanted to just share those really quickly. If you can see my screen, we are going to have an opening keynote address with Secretary Panetta, who's already here with us. We're going to have a panel celebrating 10 years of California's marine protected areas. We're going to have a panel where we're going to talk about, how we can tell stories to inspire action to protect the ocean. We have a panel where we're going to learn about California's big little plastic pollution problem, microplastics. We have a keynote address where we'll be joined by the chairwoman for the Northern Chumash Tribal Council, Violet Sage Walker, to learn about her incredible, inspiring work to protect a really special part of our California coastline of the Central Coast. We're going to do a kind of a virtual visit to the Monterey Bay Aquarium with a guide by the Executive Director, Julie Packard, which will be wonderful. And we also have a really interesting panel about the future of ocean conservation here in California, and how we get to 30 by 30, where we're going to be joined by Secretary Wade Kofoot, a number of ocean advocates and scientists and divers. So I think that will be a really interesting discussion. And we're going to wrap up the day with a really amazing demo on how to make art from kelp with Oriana Poindexter. So it's going to be really awesome. Really glad you're here. Welcome again to everyone. And I wanted to do a big shout out, first of all, to Latinos Marinos, who are here in tremendous numbers. Welcome. Also to all the Surfrider Foundation activists who fight for our ocean between catching waves off our coast. Also to the students, the CalPERC students who've shown up in really great numbers, the Environment California members, the entire ocean advocacy community, many of the legislators and staff from the Capitol. We are so excited to have everyone gathered today to learn more about what we can do to protect the ocean. What I wanted to do next is hand it over to Julie Packard, who is, we're so excited to have her join us this morning. Julie Packard is the Executive Director of the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and also the founder of that incredible place where we're able to learn so much about the marine life and the threats to our ocean and opportunities to protect it. And so Julie is going to help us do a quick introduction to Secretary Panetta. And so over to you, Julie. Do we have Julie?
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It is so great to have you all here. Thank you for joining us. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Julie Packard, Executive Director of the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And it's such a pleasure for me to introduce Secretary Leanne Panetta to kick off today's California Ocean Day events. Leanne has been such an incredible ocean champion. It's really hard to know where to begin. In Congress and the White House, he advanced policies to protect the health of the ocean for future generations in so many ways. He led the fight to prevent expansion of offshore oil and gas development along the California coast, and he authored the legislation that created the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, where I'm sitting right now on the edge of 30 years ago this September. Hard to believe it's been that much time that's passed. Leanne truly understands the importance of protecting our ocean. I had the great pleasure of serving with Leon when he chaired the Pew Oceans Commission, and I've continued working with him as part of the Joint Ocean Commission Initiative as we've continued to work along making progress on establishing a comprehensive national ocean policy. Leanne was able to underscore the importance of a healthy ocean to our national defense and national security when he served as CIA Director and Secretary of Defense. And that was really, in my view, a groundbreaking connection to make that has been really, really helpful in bringing more people along about the critical role the oceans play in all of our lives in so many ways. Leanne is really someone who knows so well how protecting ocean biodiversity helps us tackle climate change, it supports commercial and sport fisheries, and it sustains the living ocean that inspires and delights millions of people. I saw the depth of Leanne's commitment on a regular basis when he served on the Aquarium Board of Trustees for many years. I so appreciated his candor, his tough questions, and the warmth and humor with which he approached every single task. Leanne, you're absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Secretary Leanne Panetta.
Thank you very much, Julie, for that kind introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, I think you should know what a great ocean advocate Julie is, not only in heading up the Monterey Bay Aquarium, but she really has devoted her life to protecting our oceans, protecting the wildlife in our oceans, protecting our communities that care about our oceans and our coastline. And she's really dedicated her life to that. And I've always been very proud to know Julie and to work with her and to work with the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which is a treasure here in the Monterey Peninsula. Megan Harley, I want to pay tribute to you too for organizing this Ocean Day. It's incredibly important to be able to bring people together throughout the state and beyond to understand the importance of our oceans and why it's so critical that all of us work together to try to protect something that, is critical to life itself and to the beauty in life that we enjoy. So I'm glad that all of you are joining. I'm glad that you're showing the dedication and commitment that is so critical to our ability to protect our oceans. I'm honored for several reasons to have this chance. First of all, because we in Monterey are proud of the protection we've been able to provide our coastline. Obviously, the community came together to help me develop the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, which is the pride of our area. And also the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which literally celebrates every day the beauty and the resources and the wildlife that is part of Monterey Bay. You can see it there for those of you that haven't had a chance to see the aquarium. It is truly remarkable in the way it focuses on the beauty and the wildlife of the Monterey Bay. And more importantly, it's about educating our community to why it's important to protect our oceans. I mean, I think that's absolutely critical, to be able to teach people across our community, across the state, to understand that no matter where you're from, our oceans are important to you. Our oceans are a treasure that all of us need to embrace. And the ability to teach communities, to teach families, to teach children about the importance of our oceans is the foundation of our ability then to move forward and do the things that have to be done in order to protect our oceans. We can't do it alone. You've got to build a base, a coalition of people that understand why it is so important to protect something that, you know, as we all know, if you look at our planet, 80% of our planet is blue, representing the oceans of our world. And those oceans are critical. They were critical to life itself, but they're critical to our lives. And for that reason, it's just really important to be able to teach communities, to teach children why it's necessary for them to care about our oceans. I'm also honored because I was born and raised here in Monterey. This is my home. I am the son of Italian immigrants. And in many ways, the ocean has been part of my life. My parents ran a restaurant in downtown Monterey during the war years. And so my grandfather, who spent a lot of time at sea, used to always take me down to the ocean. And I can remember those walks and remember enjoying the beauty of our ocean, just enjoying his company as my grandfather, but also just enjoying the beauty of our area here in Monterey. And so the ocean is very close to me. Monterey has a history, obviously, that tells us a lot about what we need to know about our oceans. I mean, when I was a kid, Monterey was a huge fishing town, caught a lot of sardines. In Julie's aquarium, there are photographs of those sardines. And there were a lot of ships that went out, a lot of purse seiners that went out. And they caught unlimited amounts of sardines, almost piling sardines, not just below deck, but on top of the decks as well. So as a result of all of that, it produced Cannery Row, which is where the aquarium is located. And Cannery Row was all canneries, basically canning those sardines that were being caught. But we paid a price for that. We paid a price in the overfishing that took place. And it impacted on our community when the sardines were fished out. Impacted on jobs, impacted on our economy, impacted on the lives of those that worked in the industry on Cannery Row. And as a result of the leadership in this community, I mean, what happened to Cannery Row is it became literally almost a slum of old canneries and warehouses. And yet the community realized that we needed to protect that history in order to learn from that history. And the result was that because of the leadership of people like Julie and others in the community, we were able ultimately to restore Cannery Row so that people can come there and see what it was like, but to also learn the lessons that need to be learned about how we can do a better job in protecting our oceans, and the resources in our oceans as well. I'm really glad that you're having the panels that you're having to celebrate the protected areas, the California protected areas that we have. I think we're really proud of what California has done in protecting huge amounts of our coastline and our ocean. I'm glad you're telling the stories about how we develop these protected areas, and I'll tell you the story of Monterey Bay in a second. And I'm glad you're looking at microplastics and pollution that is endangering the life of our oceans. As Julie's aquarium has discovered, those microplastics are now appearing everywhere. And it really is, it's a tragedy and a real danger that is happening as we speak. And that you're also looking at the future of ocean conservation. But critical to all of that is the ability to bring together that coalition of supporters that represents the political oomph you need in order to be able to do what's necessary to protect our oceans. It doesn't just happen. We wish that were the case, that we wouldn't have to fight to develop the protections that are needed. But the reality is, in our democracy, that is the nature of how you get things done. And so what all of this is about, what all those panels are about, is ultimately to build the kind of political coalition that is essential to our ability to protect our oceans. And by that, I mean a real cross-section, not just conservationists, not just researchers, not just environmentalists, but members of the business community, members from the Chamber of Commerce, agriculture, fishing, educators, Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals. You really have to build a broad base of support in which everyone understands how important it is to be able to take the steps necessary to protect our oceans. The story of Monterey Bay and our sanctuary is the story of how a community came together, realizing that it was threatened, realizing that if we did nothing, that our bay and everything that we appreciated about our bay would be lost. Goes back to really the 1970s. I was first elected to Congress from this area in 1976, and immediately was involved in ocean issues because I cared about protecting our ocean. And almost immediately from the beginning, and this was a Democratic administration at the time, the Carter administration, like almost every administration, ultimately they look at the whole prospect of offshore drilling. And the Carter administration was no different. On the other hand, we were able to talk with the Secretary of Interior at the time, and he was willing to take into consideration the importance of protecting areas off of our coastline that would be protected forever, similar to a Yellowstone or a Yosemite. There are areas that needed to be protected forever from the threat of offshore drilling. So we were able to make some progress even at that time. But I realized that this was going to be an ongoing challenge. And sure enough, when the Reagan administration got elected, Secretary Watt, who became the Interior Secretary, proposed that we sell all of our offshore areas for offshore drilling. Nothing was protected in his proposal. And when I saw the proposal and the threat that it constituted to our coastline, to our bay, I decided, it's something you want to do initially before you get into a war, is to have is to try the nice guy approach. And so I decided to go to a Republican congressman, make it a bipartisan affair, who represented Mendocino, Congressman Don Clausen. And Mendocino, as most of you know, has a very attractive coastline as well. And Don was pretty good about protecting our coastline. So I said, Don, we ought to sit down with Secretary Watt and tell him why it's important to protect these beautiful areas off of the California coastline. And we did. We had a meeting in Don Clausen's office. And we both made the case about how our areas are extremely beautiful and that there were areas that needed to be protected, like a Yosemite or a Yellowstone, for the future. And I'll never forget this. On the wall in Don's office was a beautiful picture of the crashing waves on the Mendocino coast. And I went up to it and I said, you know, this is what we're talking about. This is the kind of beauty we're trying to protect. And Secretary Watt went up to that photograph and he put his finger and he said, you know, this would be a nice area for an offshore drilling rig. And I thought, this is going to be trouble. At that moment, I knew how much trouble we were in. So we decided we had to go to war. And the result was we drafted a bill. And I worked with my Republican colleagues from San Diego and from other areas of the coastline. It was a bipartisan effort. We put together a bill that would prevent any funding on a year-to-year basis for advancing offshore drilling. In other words, it stopped the funding, the federal funding that was necessary in order to proceed with that process. It was called a moratorium on offshore drilling. But it was part of the appropriations bills, and there, as a result of it, it had to be passed every year. It was not easy. We were up against very stiff opposition at the time. The administration, the Reagan administration, was opposed to it. The oil companies obviously were opposed to it. And they had a number of members who obviously were influenced by the oil companies. There are a lot of states that are dependent on drilling for oil, as we know today. And there are a lot of states in this country that don't have a coastline. So the issue is, how do you make them aware of how important it is to protect the beauty of our coastline? So it was a challenge, but what we did was we built a coalition. And we went to every coastal state and made them aware of the threat that offshore drilling represented to their states. And we began to put it together with Washington, Oregon, California. And then we went to New England and pulled those delegations together to support the bill. We did the same thing with the Carolinas, Virginia, and down to Florida. And all of that represented a very strong coalition. We went to the Appropriations Subcommittee. It was a guy named Sidney Yates, who was the chairman of the Appropriations Committee. And Sidney was from Illinois. He was from Chicago. But for those of us that knew Sidney, he had a great heart and believed deeply in conservation. So we got his support on the Interior Subcommittee. We were able to get it through the subcommittee. Then we had to face the full committee, where there were a lot more individuals from the oil states who were part of the Appropriations Committee. But we had a great coalition that lobbied for the bill, that supported it. We went to every grassroots area and tried to get people to write their congressman about how important it was to pass the moratorium. And we were able, it was a close vote in full committee. I was not sure we were going to win it, but we actually won it in the full committee. And then obviously when it went to the floor, we had the floor votes to be able to protect it as well. The Senate did the same thing. Actually, Senator Wilson, Pete Wilson from San Diego, was a co-sponsor along with Senator Cranston. And they put the legislation together, and we were able to get it passed both by the House and the Senate. And for 20 years, that moratorium passed in the Congress, preventing any move on offshore drilling because of that moratorium. But as always, I was concerned, and we certainly see it today, I was concerned that at some point gas prices would go very high because of either some kind of crisis that we were facing abroad or crisis here. And that when you have these huge gas prices, people think very little about protecting our coastline. They care a lot about the price they see when they drive their car into a gas station. So I was very worried that at some point we were going to lose this moratorium, which eventually was lost. And for that reason, I sought permanent protection for the Monterey Bay. And the first place I went was to the sanctuaries, to create a sanctuary, which was largely done administratively at the time. Out of NOAA, they made the decision as to what areas would be protected. And while they'd given Monterey Bay some consideration, they did not recommend it for a sanctuary. So what I did was drafted legislation to establish the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. I included it in the sanctuary legislation. I had a lot of co-sponsors, again, Republican and Democrat. We put it into the bill that basically established the authorization for sanctuaries, went to the Senate, and then we decided that if we were going to get this passed, it couldn't pass as a separate bill, that the administration would veto it. So we decided to include it in something called a continuing resolution, a CR, which you're probably familiar with because these days in the budget process, the only way they get things done is through a continuing resolution that continues funding for the federal government. And it's not easy, but it's usually something that has to pass. So we added the sanctuary bill to that CR, and it passed both the House and the Senate, and President Bush, who was in office at that point, signed it. He had to sign it because he didn't want to shut down the federal government. So that's how we got it passed. It was not easy, but we were ultimately able to get it done and to try to make sure that we went through the regulatory process. At the time on regulations, there were a lot of people who wanted us to have a sanctuary that covered the California coast, which we couldn't do. But we developed a very big-sized sanctuary that ran from the Farallon Islands down to San Simeon. The largest marine sanctuary of all the marine sanctuaries in the United States at the time. We ultimately got it approved through the regulatory process, and we designated the Marine Sanctuary in 1992 at a great celebration, both in Santa Cruz and in Monterey, that celebrated the designation of that sanctuary. So it was a long battle, but it could not have happened without that coalition of support. We had a lot of researchers, marine researchers, institutes in our area. We were able to get them to put the science together that justified the sanctuary. We were able to get conservationists to support it. We got business people to support it because they thought our Monterey Bay was critical to tourism. So we had a lot of people in business who were very supportive of it. We had agriculture supportive. We had fishermen who were supportive of it. We really had a very broad cross-section of support, thank God. And that coalition of support was essential to our ability to make it happen. When I had the chance, as Julie mentioned, to chair the Pew Oceans Commission, the concern at that point is that despite some of the efforts to protect our oceans, that there were some real threats that were out there that were threatening the lives of our oceans. Pollution was increasing. And as you saw, the pollution with plastics, but pollution of every sort was increasing along our coastlines. There was overfishing was taking place, and we were losing the fisheries that were important. And we lost the ability to have sustainable fisheries, which is what we all need to be working for. Coastal development, over 70% of this country lives along the coast, and that results in a lot of development and a lot of loss of wetlands, which are critical to our oceans. And add to that climate change and the impact of climate change, the growing acidity in our oceans, the growing warming of our oceans, the changing of the currents that are taking place, the appearance of huge dead zones in our oceans where there is no life because of the combination of acidity plus other chemical processes that are hurting our oceans. All of that were areas that we focused on. We had a great commission made up of people like Julie and Jane Levchenko. We had fishermen, we had conservationists, we had representatives from industry that were members of that commission. We had hearings around the country. We went to every part of the country. We went to Texas and the Caribbean coast, where there's a lot of offshore drilling, as you know. We went to Alaska. We went to Seattle. We went to New England, to the lobster industry to see it firsthand. We basically built a case for why we needed to take steps in each of these areas to be able to protect our oceans. And in the end, our report called for a national ocean policy so that the country would establish a comprehensive approach to basically protecting our oceans. And we were able to do that. And as Julie knows, we had other committees. There was actually a national committee that had been established to look at our oceans as well by the Congress. I worked together with that commission. We joined hands in a national ocean policy. We've developed consuls on the ocean to continue to look at the need, not only to advance that legislation, but to fund the important research that's important. And I think the one thing we've done is to develop the kind of areas of protection for our coastline that have to be sewn together in order to really provide that protection. So it's not just the marine sanctuaries along our coastline, and we have several of those along California's coastline, but it's marine protected areas, it's marine reserves rather, that the states, California has done a great job in establishing marine reserves. We have national estuaries, state estuaries that have been provided. We've got national parks. We have wildlife refuges. There are a number of different pieces here that can be built together that provide that protection that is important for our oceans. The goal, as you know, and the administration, the Biden administration has embraced that goal, is to protect 30% of our coastline in this country. And we're hoping to be able to do that by 2030, to be able to get 30% of our coastline protected. And to be able to accomplish that, and I think that really is an important goal, to be able to set these areas aside for protection. What we're going to have to do is we really are going to have to develop that coalition that I talked about, that bipartisan coalition. We're going to have to make the case that protecting our oceans is protecting our national security. I learned that as CIA Director and Secretary of Defense, that our oceans are critically important to our national security. And therefore, this is a national security issue. It isn't just a conservation issue, it's a security issue. We're going to have to educate the public and make clear to them how important it is. And we've got to make clear that our oceans, for somebody living in the middle of this country, oceans are important to them as well, because our oceans are about protecting good health for our citizens. It's about protecting our economy, the economy, obviously, of our coast, but it's also impacts on the economy of our country as well. Protecting sustainable fisheries so that communities that depend on fishing can do it in a sustainable way. Protecting our weather systems, our oceans impact on our weather systems. And because of climate change, those weather systems are changing, as we've seen. The currents are changing. Protecting recreation, the joy of recreation that our oceans provide. And finally, the spirit of our people is tied to our oceans. John Kennedy said that our oceans represent the salt in our veins, and that's true. So our responsibility, all of us, our responsibility is to really become good stewards to protect this national treasure called our oceans. We have a responsibility to do that because no matter what we've been able to accomplish in the past, we are dealing with present threats to our ocean that are real and that continue. And therefore, we have a responsibility to be good stewards today, and we need to pass that on to our children to be good stewards so they too can protect our oceans for the future. This is not going to be easy. This is not just a pretty please process. It's got to be a fight. And we've all got to understand how important it is to fight through our process to be able to get this done. Julie's heard this story before, but a Jesuit priest at Santa Clara once told me a story about a rabbi and a priest who decided they would get to know each other a little better so they could understand each other's religion. And so one evening they went to a boxing match, thinking that if they went there, they could talk to each other and really understand each other's religion. And just before the bell rang, one of the boxers made the sign of the cross, and the rabbi nudged the priest and said, "What does that mean?" The priest said, "It doesn't mean a damn thing if he can't fight." We bless ourselves with the hope that everything's going to be fine with our oceans. But very frankly, it doesn't mean a damn thing unless we're all willing to fight for it. Your participation in this Ocean Day tells me that you are willing to make that fight, a fight that is so critical for our planet, for our oceans, and for future generations, so that they can appreciate and enjoy the legacy of how beautiful our oceans are to our planet, to ourselves, and to our lives. Thanks for having me, and best of luck to all of you that you're able to come together and carry on that great fight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Secretary Panetta. That was wonderful and just such an incredible story. I think it's easy when we go to the coast and when we visit our beaches to appreciate how beautiful it is and forget that it is that way because of the work of people like you, all of the ocean advocates who've come before us. And it's not going to stay that way unless we keep fighting that fight. And as the threats around us are growing, we saw this past year, the devastating oil spill once again plague our coastline, and the growing plastic pollution, and even new threats like seabed mining, which is now happening around the world in different places, potentially threaten our coastline. The need for us to build that coalition to stand together is clearly more important than ever. So thank you so much for those really wonderful remarks, and we will keep that tradition going by fighting today and onwards. So thank you so much.
Good luck.
Thank you. And from here, so we're already, I know that there's already some meetings happening. There's a team meeting with the Lieutenant Governor as we speak, which is very exciting, talking about our big Ocean Day priorities. And we have a number of meetings that are going to be starting right at 10 o'clock. And so I just wanted to make a few quick announcements.